now at 6.
A News 10 investigation into possible exposure to toxic materials. Whistleblower workers at UC Davis say they were wrongly exposed to asbestos. And then see what happened when we walked right into one of those buildings. And now to a News 10 investigation.
We're endangering students because of decisions that our managers are making just to get the job done.
Speaking exclusively with News 10, two UC Davis whistleblowers say their bosses force them to drill into classroom walls and ceilings that could have asbestos in them, and do it even while students were in those buildings. Our investigative reporter Tom Jensen takes you inside the lecture halls where workers worry they were exposed, along with students, to the cancer-causing material.
It's not dangerous if it's not disturbed, but our whistleblowers say they used hammer drills like this one to pulverize holes through concrete and plaster walls and ceilings that could contain asbestos. And they say the dust that they created blew everywhere, including into air conditioning and ventilation systems. It happened dozens of times inside Wellman Hall, according to 7 UC Davis employees who filed whistleblower complaints, and hundreds more times in other lecture halls that were built before 1980. By state and federal law, those older structures have to be treated as if they contain asbestos, because they likely do.
And they were aware of the fact that asbestos was in those buildings.
As shown in this UC Davis campus news article, Wellman was evacuated in 2011 because asbestos may have been released when someone inadvertently turned on a building fan. UC Davis records obtained by News 10 show testing in 2 Wellman classrooms in 2013 did find asbestos in wall texturing and joint compounds above levels which OSHA considers safe. The testers also said the rest of the walls in Wellman should be considered as containing asbestos-containing construction materials. In their complaints, Mark Kellogg and the other workers say they were ordered to drill the holes at Wellman, even though their managers knew there was a high probability they would be exposed to asbestos.
The management team stood up and stated they're going to be testing for asbestos. Drill the holes now so we don't get shut down.
The crews work for the Campus Academic Technology Services Department. They install, tear out, and replace things like projector screens, TV monitors, and sound equipment. What was coming down on your face?
Dust, piles of dust and debris just comes down. You're coated with it. You're completely covered with it.
So asbestos potentially everywhere?
Everywhere, yes.
Kellogg, a coworker, and 5 other student employees told me students were attending summer classes at Wellman and other buildings on campus while they drilled their holes. During the summer heat, the ventilation system and air conditioning units were turned on while they worked.
So the entire room is filled with dust. The air handlers are on, the dust is going in the air handlers, is blowing all over the building.
We also, to keep ourselves, cool in there, we had a fan, and that was probably blowing stuff all over the place.
The whistleblowers also told me they drilled in Olson Hall and were never informed about these test results, which also found asbestos in wall texturing on concrete throughout the building. There's a security fence and caution tape up outside Olson today, but that was not the case when I was here a couple of weeks ago. And I walked right through a set of open double doors back there and into what a worker told me was an ongoing asbestos abatement project. Did they find asbestos in this room? He explained how the floor tiles have asbestos, as do panels glued to the walls.
These are made of panzite. Panzite is asbestos.
The materials had already been disturbed when I was there, and within an hour, the crew began cleaning the air with powerful filtration systems. A manager at the abatement company told News 10 he's investigating what happened. He referred all other questions to the university, and an assistant vice chancellor who oversees construction and architectural issues at UC Davis said he's been assured no safety regulations were violated.
And you feel like what's happening over there now at Olson is safe?
From what I've seen and talked to the consultant about it, yeah.
As far as the whistleblowers go, UC Davis Assistant Vice Chancellor Clayton Halliday said he was never briefed on their complaints before our interview.
And the HVAC equipment was running. It was summer. It was hot. I mean, that gets up into the vents and could be blown all over the students.
Well, again, I'm listening to what you're telling me, but I don't have firsthand knowledge of that.
We sought the advice of an expert. Cal OSHA's asbestos unit manager also could not specifically talk about the workers' allegations, but in general terms, he said, if their claims are true, they may have been exposed.
I wouldn't think that you would be doing damaging masonry, concrete type material without first determining what's in it.
Jeff Farrell worked in the asbestos cleanup industry before joining Cal OSHA. He said safety regulations for abatement workers are specific and strict.
The guys that are coming in to do the work, they're going to be wearing respirators, they're going to be wearing protective suits, there's going to be air monitoring every day to make sure that the quality control is there, that the work's not being done inappropriately.
Monitoring was in place at Marac Hall, where another asbestos abatement project is also currently underway. Without knowing exactly where the asbestos is located, I can't say whether workers at either location were in danger of being contaminated because they wore no protective gear. But UC Davis's own health and safety policies state that employees will be informed in writing the locations of asbestos in their work areas, and that they are not to drill holes in asbestos-containing materials or access areas above ceilings. The whistleblowers say they have little doubt that they were exposed along with an unknown number of students.
Are you afraid for your life?
I took it home with me on my clothes. I could expose my children too.
The really sad part is that I created it. I drilled the holes under order of my management to create that dust. That I've got to live with the fact that, you know, I potentially poisoned hundreds of kids just to save my job.
By the way, the whistleblowers say the university seems to be taking their cases seriously since they filed their complaints with Human Resources. They say the university placed a moratorium on drilling in the older buildings until further notice. By the way, they're not suing. They simply want the policies and procedures put in place that will keep themselves safe along with the students. There are policies on campus, as we just showed, but they say that those were not enforced and they were never told about them before they drilled in these walls.
Not suing now, but if somebody has a health problem down the road, you know, maybe there's a possibility. But you know, there's no, as my understanding is, there's no minimum safe exposure to asbestos. It's not like you can breathe a little bit. No, it's okay, you didn't have a lot. I mean, even just one of those particles in your lungs could possibly be a problem.
It's not only the EPA and Cal OSHA who say that. UCD professors, scientists also were involved in studies in the past, and they said no level of asbestos exposure is good.
Oh, all right. Tom, thanks.
You bet.
We've got a lot more on this investigation coming on our website.